Right. I just want to make a video about well, the person I was probably closest to. It's not my best mate, Dad. Yeah, and I want to talk about how nostalgia works a little bit. Yeah. Now, thinking back, my best mate, Dad, as a kid, was one of the nicest people to me. He could be a cunt to me, but the majority of the time, he was nice to me. Um, And when thinking back in nostalgia and all these things, you can easily go, oh, yeah, well, he was really nice to me. But I want to talk about my best mate brother, Little D. That's Little D. His older brother was Big D. Big D and Little D. Now, these two people, I was around from baby, literally baby, and I hung around with them a lot more. Big D, not Little D. Me and Little D were like that as kids. And there was another little black boy that we used to hang around with as well. But me and Little D were like that. But no one hurt Little Terry more than Little D. Because I was his younger brother. And I mean younger brother, and I'm going to explain because literally it come down. Big D beat Little D. Little D beat Little T. Little Terry. Now, a lot of people, I was known as Little Terry. Because I was Little Terry. Everywhere I went, I was Little Terry as a kid because I was always the youngest and smallest. Now, even now, so if I bump into someone that knew me from a kid, the words out of them, oh, look, it's Little Terry. That's the words out of their mouth. It's Little Terry. I'm quite happy being Little Terry. I was Little Terry my whole life. I don't like being Big Terry. Big Terry is a cunt. Big Terry has to show little cunts that they ain't big to Little Terry. Now, no one hurt little Terry more than Little D. But Little D loved Little Terry more than anyone. Probably not the same as he loved Big D. And he loved Little T. Because not a human being alive could come out and do the things that Little T did to Little D and live. He was Luton's baddest ever motherfucker. The baddest. The baddest. The baddest motherfucker, a one-man fucking army, fucking Rambo. Now, just a couple of his exploits. He weren't a fucking man who wanted to be a Mr. fucking drug dealer because he's uncontrollable. You couldn't control him. He's no one's bitch. He would never be anybody's bitch because he's a one-man army. Rambo. I don't know the whole story, but I know he steamed into the boater with 2 machetes. And the boater was a dangerous pub. He stormed in there with 2 fucking machetes. No one would do anything. Something happened. and someone had lied to him that he was with on the piss. He then broke into a pub late at night, tied the landlord up on the floor, and beat him to a pulp with snooker balls in a sock. A couple of people were fucking giving his mum shit at her flat. Goes in, boom, boom, boom. Does the pair of them. Walks out on his own later. One-man army. He would just turn up on his own, waiting in the dark, and he will come out on you. He was my alpha. He beat me to a fucking pulp. No one fucked with him. He's the geezer. He stabbed 11, 12 years of age, stabbed a pair of scissors into the geezer's leg and opened it up. Mashing people up with fucking batteries in socks. You didn't fuck with him. He didn't need the fucking weapons, but he'd gone. And ultimately, he was gone. He wanted to fucking hurt people. Now, just a little thing, like, we were that close. Like, no one, there's not a human being who couldn't do what I did. And I'll give you a little bit of the politics so people sort of know where I'm coming from, because these are my ways. This is the way we do. Now, Little D weren't allowed to beat Little T when Big D was about. Unless Little T got cheeky to Big D, then Big D would give Little D the green light to smash fuck out of Little T. And he smashed Little T up. Murdered Little T. More time, I can't even count the times that he, my whole life. Beat me to a fucking pulp. To a fucking pulp. Just didn't touch the head until Little T had had enough of Little D and decided that was it and it's time for me to fight him. And to show him that he can't keep doing that to Little fucking T. Now, from a young age, I just, the chains of pain. He loved me, but it comes down sometimes because that's human. He's upset. It could come from anywhere. Yeah, it could come from a number of fucking different sources why he was upset, because he suffered like I did. Different suffering, but ultimately he suffered as a child and was a complete madman psychopath. A madman psychopath. A one-man killing machine. And the only reason he didn't kill anyone is because he didn't want to go to prison. Because he was too fucking clever for going to prison. Don't brag about going there. Dickheads get caught and go to prison. He didn't get caught for fuck all, I don't think. I don't know if he went to prison ever. I'm not sure. The last time I saw him was in the Robin Hood. I hadn't seen him the last time we'd had a row before. I'd seen him working on the roads. I'd given him a thing. He looked and he waved at me. No one else would have got away with that in the history of the world, because he would have got ultimate vengeance on that person for that crime. But me and him ended up drinking. We was just together all night drinking, and I ended up drinking fucking Baileys. We're drinking half pints of Baileys and pints and whatever. Well, I was just with him all night, reminiscing, talking, thingy bob. Yeah, the only reason that my best mate dad is alive today is because He died before he got hold of him. He would have fucking killed him because he's a thieving little fucking crackhead that fucking robbed off of our own. Because that's what fucking happens to a fucking crackhead. My best mate dad died years ago. He's just a walking dead, nearly. And has wronged me as well. I fucking geezer walking down the road with some other little fucking crackhead. I waved at him. I says, yes, you're all right. He saw me going into a fucking my ex-missus's yard. 2 days later, the geezer is with burgles that fucking yard. Now, I drove down the road. I knew the geezer because I spotted him. I drove down the fucking road. But my brain was telling me you can't beat him up because he knows where your kid is. You've got to kill him. You have to kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. Because that's what my brain started to tell me to do. I can't kill him because it's not worth killing him over that and ruining my life with my kid. So I don't. But I would have killed him in a fucking instant. And my best mate's stepdad, if I'd have got hold of my best mate dad. If I'd have got hold of the fucking pair of them. He doesn't understand what happened to little T. Because he's always the youngest. No one got hit more than little T by everyone because of my mouth. Even the people that liked me at one stage or another, they go, you cheeky fuck, and boot me and attack me. And I wore it. I wore it from everyone. No one got hit more than little fucking T. But from a young age, little D battered little T. Because it come down. I'd walk into the park or somewhere. He lived in the trees. We were in the trees. We lived in the trees. He lived in the trees. He'd be up a tree, bawling his eyes out, crying on his own. I'd walk into the park. He'd just start, you fucking little cunt. You fucking little cunt. Start spitting at me or something. I'd say something. He'd jump out the fucking tree, beat me to a fucking pulp because the chain of pain come down. It's not because he was horrible to me. It's just, yes, love. And I want to talk about love. Because what we had was fucking real love. That's love. And people don't understand what you want gifts. You want fucking shit from people. This was love. He beat the fuck out of me my whole life with love because he never went for the face. But any other human being alive would have got done, you know, bad. Now, from a young age, in the end, I'd earn it. I'd earn it. So I decided, you know, ultimately I'd earn my beatings because I would get beatings as it was. He's massive to me, massive. I'll just give you an example. So we'd be out, we'd be fucking around, and we would all be cussing each other. That's what we did, cussing. Wasted, shame when it first shamed us, then went to wasted, gutted, all these things, yeah, because we'd all be cussing all the time. But little Terry was a better cusser than little D. So I would do him all the fucking time, make everyone laugh. But the politics and the rules in our fucking gang were that little D is only allowed to batter little T when Big D gives the okay. When Big D's not around, little D would put a beating on little T sometimes. Not very often, but it did happen. Now, I'd be winding him up, knowing full well what was coming my way. And he would just be glaring at me with murder in his eyes. And that's genuine murder. Genuine murder. And he would store it up. And then we'd be in the fucking park or somewhere like that, and I'm winding up Big D. So I get gobby to Big D. Big D goes, little D. He wouldn't even get, little Big D wouldn't even get off. He'd probably be laying on the floor smoking a joint or something. Little D. And just point like that. little D would be up in a second with a smile about this fucking pig coming off his face. Little T knows what is coming his way. Little T is trying his hardest to run away from Little D. But Little D would be on Little T in a second because he was just massive, fast. Nothing compared to Little T at that time. He'd do mad shit like jump in the air, double elbows, double knee drop, beat me to a fucking pulp. A pulp. Sometimes you might get a few weeks in between those beatings. Sometimes you might get one within a few days. Even he made me beg. He made me beg. He made me beg for everything. He always had a massive lump of fucking puff. He had a big massive lump of fucking hash in his pocket, a lump of dope. He was a happy man. He'd just be in the trees smoking dope. Because that's where he found peace. From the asylum. And he wouldn't even give me a fucking... He'd make me beg for every fucking joint. Every fucking joint. Tease me. Ha, ha. You know, wouldn't get a rise out of me. But then he'd always give me everything. Give me everything. He'd throw the joint on the floor and climb up the fucking tree. Just so he didn't have to hand it to me and be nice to me openly. But he always give it to me. He always loved me. Now, when I sit there, every time I think of him, I break down. I've been up very early this morning. I've got it all out. I'm not here for fucking sympathy. Now, I'm not 100% sure how he actually fucking did die. I can't even, and it's mad because I can't quite picture when he did die. What time of life it was. I just remember at the time that the person who didn't fucking tell me about it, slimy little cunt fucking Troy, would sit round my house on a session all the fucking time, but didn't get hold of me to tell me that. Starts telling me how he carried his fucking cotton. I'm like, you cheeky motherfucker. They lived next door to each other, but he weren't really on that. He's a little rich boy. Had a Jag, had fucking everything. Little pussy fucking little cunt spoilt little rich boy. Yeah? And the only thing he's good for is beating women. He's a pussy. A fucking little pussy. Some people think because he sold a bit of dope and wore fucking River Island fucking jumpers and wore gold chains. A lot of people started thinking he was fucking hard for some reason. He's a fucking little cunt. If I ever get hold of him, you know, it ain't worth fucking talking about. But anyway, he would mullah me. Yeah. No one in my life meant more to me than that geezer. To a certain degree. And it's fucked that I didn't even... He was my earliest ever fucking friend. Oh, fucking hell, that fucking phone's going to fucking run out in a fucking minute of fucking time. This is pissing me off. I'm going to have to make a fucking another video now. Delete some videos and then do the follow on from this.